Thank you for joining us today at Homestead for Life. My name's Laura, and today we are going to talk about different ways to preserve food. The primary two ways that you've heard of are probably canning, right? So we've got pressure canning and water bath canning. But what's the difference? How do I know what to water bath can versus what to pressure can? Water bath canning is for your high acid foods because that acid is going to kill all the bacteria that the high pressures in the pressure canning are going to kill. So you're going to use this for your jams, your jellies, things like that. Tomatoes, you're going to use your water bath canner for. Spaghetti sauces, though, meat sauces, your vegetables, things like that, those are going to go in your pressure canner. Any of your meat canning is going to go in your pressure canner. If you want to have the best of both worlds and not take up the space, that's where you're going to get the electric canner. I just got mine, does much smaller batches. I can fit a ton of pints in here. Can't remember how many, like 16 or something maybe, because I can stack them up in here. The same in my water bath canner. I can fit 5 in my electric canner. But it can do the water bath canning, it can do the pressure canning. It's just different settings. So for small batch canning, for space saving, this is your go-to. And it's just so much simpler than pressure canning and having to watch that gauge. But there's other ways to can things besides our meats and our jellies, right? We have other options. What about dehydrating our food? What about freezing our food? If you're gonna freeze your food, you wanna make sure it's wrapped up tight, you've got all the oxygen out of it. That's where your food saver comes in. You're gonna put it in a lovely little bag, suck all the oxygen out of there, and it will stay good for months in your freezer. The longer it's in there, you're gonna lose some of the colors, maybe a little texture, but it's still gonna be safe to eat as long as your freezer has maintained temperature. Then you've got dehydrating your food and freeze drying your food. Your dehydrator, the one I use is the Chef Wave. I picked this one because it's got 6 racks that come out, so I can do a lot of things at one time. It came with a couple of these tiny little weave racks for my herbs and things, and also these, I don't even know if there's holes in that rack, but these sheets on there so you can do the fruit rolls and things like that. Haven't done those yet, but I have the option and I like my options. So that's my dehydrator. You don't have to spend all that kind of money, okay? Our toaster oven has, our air fryer that doubles as a toaster oven also has that dehydrate option, okay? So dehydrating, lots of flexibility there. You can also, for your herbs, you can hang them. We've put them on racks and laid them out so that there's air circulation to dry our herbs that way. It depends on what you're dehydrating. Your herbs, a lot of your vegetables, specifically onions and things, your dehydrator all day long, all day long. For more of your ready-to-go meals, I'm gonna go with my freeze dryer. Your more liquid type things, I'm gonna go with the freeze dryer. For instance, from my freeze dryer, this is 12 raw eggs in a Mylar bag that's the equivalent of 1 pint jar. 12 raw eggs, okay? So you can fit a lot if you're powdering it from your freeze dryer. It condenses down, and to reconstitute it, you just add water. So it's very convenient. These are freeze-dried strawberries. They are in a glass jar instead of a Mylar bag because I don't need these to last 25 to 30 years. I'm gonna eat these this week. I'm gonna throw them in cereal. I'm gonna throw them in oatmeal. I'm gonna eat them as a snack. But in a Mylar bag, those same items stay good for 25 to 30 years. So your longevity, your storage is gonna last so much longer freeze-dried in Mylar. In your jars, storing your jars, if you aren't going to eat them quickly, like my pressure canned chicken or my jellies and jams, those I'm gonna put it on a shelf in a cool, dry place, somewhere between 50 to 70 degrees in the dark. If light is getting on them, it is going to impact the colors, what your food looks like, and potentially the flavor later on. So keep them in the dark unless you're going to eat them soon. So how do you seal these jars? This one wasn't pressure canned. You have a couple options for that. A lot of food savers have this accessory port. You plug a hose into that. You get one of these handy dandy, not that lid, this is our wide mouth lid. One of these handy dandy adapters, and you run the hose, turn them on, and it seals it. If you don't have a food saver with the attachment and you don't have the hose, I've got the wrong hose for this one, you can do the same thing with a brake bleeder. I bought a brand new one just for this, but probably if you changed out the spigot, it'd be fine. I wouldn't. Buy a new one. You're messing with food. And you basically just hook it up and pump it until it's over 20 PSI, essentially till your wrist hurts. Once your wrist hurts, you're probably done. And then what that's gonna do is pull the oxygen out of your jar. And you can see, I can't pull the lid off this jar. Obviously I didn't just do this, but the lid is on there tight just as if I'd pressure canned it, okay? These are safe, they're stored well. If I put them in the dark, they'd last for years and years and years. They're gonna stay on my counter because I'm gonna eat them this week. So those are your main options for preserving your food. A very common, very common option is your Mylar bags. Most people, many people, will get the 5-gallon Mylar bags, put them in buckets, and store your grains, your flours, your sugars, your beans, your rice, things like that. The bucket protects your Mylar bag and your oxygen absorbers protect your food. So don't forget your oxygen absorbers with your Mylar bags. And that's it. Those are your basic options for food preservation, how to make your food last longer. And as food prices go up, you know, it's probably in everyone's best interest to buy it while it's cheaper, not necessarily cheap anymore, but cheaper, and store it for those days when it's not going to be. So here's some different ways to do it. Thank you for watching us, and we appreciate it.